But as we go into the playoffs now, do we have a big three? Can you now put Ty Majeski on that same level as where Christian Eckes and Corey Heim have set the bar so far this season?
Yeah, he's joined up there with them, but I think I'm still going with someone like Nick Sanchez to fill my big three for now, with that extra win under his belt. But Ty Majeski has shown us that he's able to come in late and sneak in for a championship hunt. He showed us that last year with IRP and Bristol, and he could easily do that again. Also, we saw in the comments there talking about how good of a run Daniel Dye had there at Richmond. Definitely can't count folks like him out. Rajah Caruth getting his first win earlier this year at Las Vegas. Still keeping things looking positive. You never know when things will turn around for someone like that. So it's all kind of up in the air still for me, even though we are now officially getting into the playoffs. But I think I would put Nick Sanchez over Ty Majeski at the moment.
Well, let's talk about the playoff grid here a little bit. We've got 10 drivers now in the Truck Series that are going to be fighting for a championship. It's Corey Heim, Christian Eckes, Ty Majeski. Those are your top three, followed by Nick Sanchez, who Brandon just said might be fighting for that third favored spot with Ty Majeski here. Rajah Caruth, Grant Enfinger, Tyler Ankrum, Taylor Gray, Ben Rhodes, and then as Seth mentioned in the chat, heck of an effort from Daniel Dye to get into the playoffs and take that 10th spot and show some real improvement, I think, over the second half of this regular season here. The first five out, Tanner Gray, Stuart Friesen, three-time champion Matt Crafton, Chase Purdy, and the rookie Lane Riggs, who I think a lot of people expected to be in the playoff grid at the start of this year, but had a very slow start to the season and ultimately never was able to recover from that. So, Brandon, of these 10 drivers that are in the playoff field, and then of maybe the five I just mentioned that were the first five out, or maybe somebody even further down the standings, who was the biggest surprise for you, both to make the playoff grid and then also not make the playoff grid from 11th on back?
Well, I hope I have the correct playoff grid here after I heard you respond there. I hope I've got the right playoff picture. But I think for this year, Tyler Ankrum is kind of a surprise to me.
Sure, yeah.
To be in there, given, I mean, he's very talented, but just has had bad luck, and he's said many a time that he's been back there with the squirrels, and it's caused him to miss some shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Tyler Ankrum would be mine that I'm surprised he's there. One that I'm surprised that he's out is, although at the same time I'm not, is Matt Crafton. Just his whole career he's had, and the championships won with absolutely no wins. Just been a staple for forever, but we've seen some different kinds of behavior here in latter years. So yeah, maybe that's why he's found himself in the shape he's in.
Yeah, I mean, I think Crafton you described perfectly. It should be a surprise, but it's not, based on how he's run all year. So I think when you look at his resume, of course, and he's been a model of consistency. I can't remember the last time. I'll just try to pull up the stats quickly here. It's been a long time. I think you have to go back to 2006. It looks like the last time he finished outside of the top 10 in the final standings. We know he's going to this year because he missed the playoffs. So certainly the worst year of his career in almost 2 decades, which again, I think speaks very much to the longevity that he has had and the constant presence that he's continued to have here in this series. I think he's had a fantastic career by truck lifer standards, if you will. Won 3 championships, and there's a lot to admire about that. But at the same time, you look at some of the controversies that he's been in the last couple of years or so, and couple that with the on-track results from the last couple of seasons, and the fact that he does only have 1 win since Eldora in 2017. I think probably not too much of a surprise that it finally caught up with him this year, and he ultimately fell short of making it into the postseason, and will finish at best 11th in the standings this year. I'm with Seth. I'm very impressed with Daniel Dye. Did not necessarily have him in my top 10 going into the season, nor Tyler Ankrum as well. Like you mentioned, I think great turnaround season so far for him. So good to see those two in there. I've got to say, I would be surprised about Lane Riggs if he hadn't had such a dreadful start to the year. I think it was very difficult to come back from that. I think he's had some top fives here and there. He's been very up and down the last several weeks, either in the top five as he was this weekend, or really outside the top 20 or even top 30 at times, I think. So that's been unfortunate for him. But I think, he just put himself in such a big hole to start the year that it was really probably going to take a win to climb out of that, and just ultimately ran out of time there. But Stuart Friesen, a little bit of a surprise for me as well. Again, he only has one top five and 4 top tens this season. So again, results wise, those aren't playoff caliber numbers to be clear there. But again, somebody that I think has made a name for himself being a constant contender, perennial contender in the Truck Series for the last several years, and to see him not even make the cutoff for the top 10, I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit of a change of the guard happening with drivers such as the Tyler Ankrams and Daniel Dyes of the world, Roger Carruth, like you mentioned as well, Brandon, and of course, your young guns at the top of the leaderboard here, like Corey Heim, who we don't expect to be a truck lifer because we expect him to be racing on Sundays here in the not too distant future. But maybe it's getting a little bit harder for those veterans to keep up and keep pace in the same way that they've been accustomed to over the years. So we'll see how that continues to develop over the next couple of seasons. But I think it's a very solid playoff grid, to say the least, and hopefully it ends a little bit better at Phoenix than it did in 2023 with that championship force. So keep your fingers crossed there.
My pick is still Ben Rhodes.
Hey, and that's completely fair. Yeah. And let's talk about Ben Rhodes here real quick. He's he did make it in 9th place. Again, probably not the season for Thor Sport, I guess, when you look past Majeski, at least that Ben Rhodes would have liked, or certainly Matt Crafton. But you got to be in. The first step is just getting in the field. He could go on a Matt Crafton 2019 style run where he's like the last truck in or almost the last truck in, and just does everything he needs to do to survive and advance. And, he could still be in the running to win his 3rd championship in 4 years. And more power to him.
All Ben needs is just a foot in the door.
And he's got it.